Good morning, friends, and welcome back to another episode of Morning Coffee with Cameron. In today's video, I wanted to share with you guys what has been my go-to mixing technique now for years, and it's something I've brought up a bunch of times on this channel, but something I've never actually shown how to do. Whoops. So that would be pink noise mixing, and I think this is just about the closest thing we have to a cheat code for better mixes. This is a technique I picked up years ago from one of my own production mentors, and it's something I trust above all else when it comes to getting the balance of a mix right, because noise doesn't lie, and unfortunately our ears are stupid and often do. For more sound design and mixing videos accompanied by my terrible jokes and sultry, disappointed dad voice, be sure to subscribe down below. And if you have a question or a topic you'd like me to discuss in the future, feel free to leave that down in the comments. Before we get into it, I just want to preface this whole thing by saying that this is not really the end-all be-all when it comes to getting a good mix. Obviously, there's a lot more involved, and in the end, there's always going to be a little bit of refining needing to be done based on the track and also just based on your own personal preferences. However, what this technique is designed for is to help you get that initial balance and get things in a good starting position to work from. Okay, so science time. Let's answer the big question. Why does this work and why does it work so well? If you're familiar with the different types of noise, you'll know that every noise is a little bit different. If you're not sure about that, feel free to check out my video on creating enharmonic noise where I talk about the different noise colors and why they're different. Now, what makes pink noise special against all the other types of noise is that it's more or less equivalent to the way our ears perceive sound. This is why it's often used to calibrate playback systems, live concert venues, and home theater systems. What makes pink noise particularly useful for mixing applications is that because it sounds more inherently balanced to our ears, we can use it as a reference point when it's set at an arbitrary value to judge how loud things need to be to sound balanced when it's all put together. In simpler terms, what this means is we're going to set the noise to a specific level and we're going to use that to judge how loud something needs to be in the mix. This technique is also especially helpful for low-end mixing, and if you don't have a good playback system or good headphones, this is really useful, and it's still something I use myself because I had a lot of problems with the low end in my mixes until I got a better listening environment and a better setup, but even now I still use this just to double check things because again, noise doesn't lie. If you'd like to read more details about what this technique is, why it works, and how it works, I've linked some articles down in the description below that you can check out. Today, we'll be using this new track I'm working on here called The Darkness Calls, which is pretty much done. It just needs a few arrangement things tweaked, it needs mixed, and it just needs a few other elements adjusted. Let's take a listen to how it sounds in its current state. So at the moment, it's kind of a giant hot mess, but our friend Pink Noise is here to save the day. To begin, you'll need to add a noise reference plugin. Most DAWs come with one of these natively, but if you don't have one, you can use this free one here, which is the Melda Productions M Noise Generator, and we're just going to set it to pink noise mode. Next, we're going to go to our master bus here and add some kind of RMS meter. So I'm going to grab triple meter from my friends over at PSP. We'll flip this guy into RMS mode, and then we're going to set our reference level. Now, the reference level really depends on who you ask. I find for my style of music, often -14 RMS is a good way to go. For more loud and aggressive genres like rock or metal or dubstep or something, I might go for more maybe -12 or up to -8 in really aggressive, loud track cases. Finally, to cap this off, we'll need some kind of mono summing utility, so I'm just going to use a tool here in DistroKid. We'll go over here and set the width to 0% to collapse everything to mono. So I've got my reference level set up here, and we're just going to increase the wet signal until we read at right about 0. Right there should be good. We'll make sure it's peaking. Cool, so -15.5 seems to be the trick here. Once we have our noise level set, all we need to do is set all of the faders in our project down to -infinity, and then we're going to bring these in one at a time against the noise until we can barely perceive it above the noise. I'm going to do this for one track because this is particularly annoying and I'm not going to make you sit here and listen through all of that. With that being said, please take care of your ears and make sure you're doing this at a healthy listening volume. You don't need to do this cranked. Do it at what you would listen to other tracks at, and that's really the reference point you should be working at. All right, we've got this zeroed out here, so I'm going to unmute the master bus, and then we're going to bring in, let's just do our kick drum as an example, because that should be pretty easy to understand. Volume warning time. This is about to be a giant burst of noise, and it's not really going to be pleasant. Now is your warning to turn your volume down. And it's as easy as that. So now we're going to repeat this process for each subsequent sound, and I will see you guys back in a minute. Now I've leveled this mix out and applied a few small tweaks and adjustments just now that things have been leveled, and also to get the balance sitting a bit more where I would like it to, just because I prefer my songs to have kind of a certain level of things happening. But now that we've got this done, it sounds much better. And before we take a listen to the final result, I wanted to show you a cool trick just to make sure you've got the low end right. Here we have a free plugin called SIGNALIZER, which is an incredibly handy spectrum analyzer, and if we solo out our bass and solo out the noise reference here, what I look for to make sure my low end is right is just look for the point where my bass is starting to poke above the frequency spectrum here. So I can see it's right there, it's not going too far. If I bring this level way up, we'll see that this is going to be way too much low end, it's overpowering the noise. But if we take it back down to where it was, it's almost perfectly balanced here, maybe poking out just a little bit just to make things nice and thick and bassy. With all that out of the way, let's take a listen to the final result of the pink noise mix. So I think that about wraps everything up for this video. If you'd like more mixing videos and stuff in the future, let me know down in the comments. I'd be happy to share some of my other tricks and techniques and other things I've learned over the years with all you fine folks of the internet. Other than that, as always, I hope you enjoyed the video and I hope you learned something. Be sure to like and subscribe, and I will see you guys again soon.